Well, hello everyone and welcome to Momentum Finance channel. My name is Mo, and in this video, I'm super excited to be welcoming another amazing guest to the show, and he is no other than KYT. Welcome to the show, KYT.
Thank you. I'm happy to be on, especially with you, Mo, because I think we think somewhat pretty similarly based on my experience reading your stuff on Blossom.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like through that Blossom app, that's how actually we got to know each other. And honestly, similarly, I've been following your journey on Blossom as well, reading through your posts and comments, and can really resonate. And it's like, oh, you know what? I think he would be an awesome guest on the show. So I'm super excited that you accepted my invite and appreciate your flexibility, KYT. Tell us to the audience as well, for those who may not have known you before, a little bit about yourself, who you are, and anything that you're comfortable to share with us.
So I'm most known for Magic the Gathering because I actually made a content site, became the biggest content site in Canada, and got acquired by Face to Face Games. That's now the biggest online store that sells Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh. So big time strategy gamer. If anybody have never heard of Magic the Gathering, it's a collectible card game, but very, very strategic. It's gotten more and more popular over the years. Now I think it's almost a lot of things that were nerdy back in the day are now kind of cool. Especially, I was also a tournament chess player back in the day. I was a top 10 in Quebec for my age, just for my age, not top 10 overall, but top 10 all the way up till I was 17 before I decided to quit because the rest of my friends weren't playing anymore. But now chess, again, was nerdy back then. Now one of the most popular things on Twitch, on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard like the Queen's Gambit, the show. Now
Yeah.
it's cool. That's really cool. So I think, yeah, that's what I'm most known for. And I've dived into poker. I played for 1 year professionally, where at one point I'm giving you all the details about my life. I work for Nokia, for those who have heard of
Wow.
the cell
The
phone
flip phones.
company. Obviously, Apple came out with their phone, and
Yeah.
Nokia like regressed or fell behind, and then the Montreal office closed. So I had a 1 to 2 year gap where I tried my hand at playing poker professionally, but after that, I was offered this job at Face to Face Games, and I was like, okay, I could work at a
Mhm.
store that's the best for Magic the Gathering. So I paired up my passion with my career, and I've been working there ever since. And yeah, and in between, dabbled with some sports betting and some daily fantasy sports for those of you who've heard. So all in all, I was telling them, like, if there's one thing that's unique about me that I want my audience to know about, is that I'm really into strategy games.
You have a channel as well on YouTube. I believe it's called Canadian Finance Simplified. So tell us a little bit about that channel. How did that come into the mix, and what inspired you to start that channel?
So I think what it was is basically for Magic the Gathering, because I had a blog. Not only did I have a blog, I started doing gameplay videos where people can watch me play and learn. Also did podcasts for the longest time. I mean, I might have done, for my first show, it was called the A Team, like a play on being a Canadian podcast. But we started and we ended at 300 episodes, and it
Wow.
was a very popular show. So I think I took that content creation part of me, and once I dived into finance, so I was always a content creator. So I wanted to basically, once I started in finance, I started wanting to share my journey, especially since I just started pretty late. Like I mentioned a few times, we read like in late 2020 when I was 35. And that was mainly because I finally got past my strategy game phase where nothing mattered in the world to me but being the best at the strategy games. It's like, okay, it's time to get real. It's time to get married, get real about finance, have a kid. Let's think about the serious stuff. So that's why I got more serious in finance. And then, this content creation part of me wanted just to share all the findings. And because what I noticed was the YouTube space was lacking, until I found you, was lacking someone like me, which is someone that didn't necessarily stock pick, because like YouTube, you're incentivized to talk about specific stocks, ticker symbols, because that's what's going to drive hits. So I was like, I know I'm not going to be able to drive hits like these GME people that got a lot of hype, got a million subscribers. But I mean, let's just see if there is a need for someone like me or people that just want to do it safer. And I felt there was a need for that. And I feel good doing them, even though I'm not going to grow as fast as someone, again, talking about BlackBerry, Bed Bath and Beyond, and all the stocks that went crazy in the last 2 years or so.
I think your contents speak for themselves. They're actually very informative. I love how, as the name is very fitting, you make it simple. Finance and investing doesn't have to be rocket science. I know there's an industry out there that would like to make it look that way because that's how they profit, and they constantly coming up with all these new type of products, you name it, like so many variations of the same thing. Whereas at the end of the and maybe that's another nice segue to a little bit of the next question, but how you essentially have one major holding in your investment, and I think that's is that accurate to say more than 90% of your holdings is in that?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. And again, this is not intended for us to sell like, oh, this is the stock pick or ETF pick that one should go, but more so from the lens of why did you decide that maybe it doesn't have to be that complex, and even such a pick as an example would be a good option for someone like yourself?
I think really is just the people I was watching, like Ben Felix, Justin Bender, or reading the Canadian Couch Potato. They just recommended the same thing. Just again, all asset allocation ETF, and call it a day, and just figure out the number of stocks you want versus bonds. I of course want it to be 100% stocks. Just be highest expected return, but highest variance. I was willing to accept that, and it just seemed like I was really sold on the global diversified thing, and for now, just the auto rebalancing, so that there's no effort. And the like sometimes we like a lot of investors like on the Blossom Ass will nitpick on little things like the MER when it's not like, okay, going from 2% to 0.2 is a huge deal, but more like, okay, why not do XEQT and just invest in its individual ETF, and you're just saving something negligible for something that you actually have to spend some amount of effort to do. And if you want to do that, that's fine, but there is a difference between 2% to 0.2 and 0.2 to like 0.0 whatever. There's just like a small difference.
Negligible.
So yeah, so I think I wanted to do that, and just the fact that it's already globally diversified, I don't actually have an opinion on the exact allocation of US to Canada. I know Dan_O, I think I'm awesome. He like always talks about wanting US more. Okay, my daughter's knocking on the door. We can see in the video.
Yeah, we got a
um,
special guest there.
um, he like talked about like
Mhm.
it's way overweight home bias, but then he also acknowledges that even if you go from like 45 to 65 US, it's not going to be a big difference. It's just like how XEQT and VQT,
Mhm.
me and the difference is going to be negligible at the end.
Mhm.
So some people fuss about that difference, and it's like, come on, just flip a coin and start investing. It's all you have to do.
Okay, but you maybe tell us a little bit about when you started investing in the first place. Like, has it been long ago? What maybe encouraged you to do that? And after that, maybe we can dive into a little bit of some of your lessons learned from the investing.
Sounds good. I think I was, so I say some people regret on Blossom where they talk about they feel bad that they started so late in their 30s or whatever, or even late 20s. I'm like, I started at 35. And I think, but the thing is, what I feel sort of grateful for is like actually XEQT, like it's how it was constructed with the 4 individual ETFs. Those were created a while ago, like you said, this is a while ago, but XEQT itself only existed in 2020. And not only that, in 2020 is when Wealthsimple sort of exploded on the scene and started publicity. So it's sort of like a just a great coincidence that everything came together, and it's where I've had money to invest, and I had a lot of success in daily fantasy sports. I was able to get a decent sum of money, not like not everything I own, but I would say like I made 6 figures in like at least 100,000 in daily fantasy sports, and then there was playing poker professionally. I talked about that before getting a job, but then I was still playing it as, I guess, you can see I'm a risk taker. This is why, like, when I talk about XEQT on my channel, and some people are like, or my friends, or I know a YouTuber like Mr. Financial is like, man, you should take a risk, just pick a stock. Like they don't know how risky I am in like the other aspect of my life. Like I'm a gambler. So like the side hustle was poker. But I mean, I take it really, really seriously. Actually, I wanted to show it on the screen. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
People talk about like, reading books, right?
Yeah.
Or to improve in investing. But I'm hardcore into chess, like I talked
That's
about.
amazing.
Poker, I have a lot of poker books. This
Wow.
is like a really old one, Kill Everyone
Oh,
title.
really?
And there's also sports betting as well. And yeah, so I really into the strategy thing. So it's really not just doing like those guys going to a poker room and gambling. There's been a lot of work done in terms of researching the best strategy and doing the work. And so that's why I want to put, like, people like XEQT. It's that boring index. I know, man. I do a lot more. I compete. I get in there and try to be the best, definitely. And so that's where it started. It was just like a perfect marriage of finally getting a lot of money, erasing my debt. Okay, that's the huge part. Basically, having this chunk of money, I got married in 2018. I was in debt because of the wedding and some poor budget choices of my own. Like my wife was fine. She's just super smart. She pays her bill like every month completely. I was doing mistakes like just making minimum payments in the past because I didn't really understand. Like I said, even though I sound like really detail oriented now, back then just wanted to be the best Magic player in the world. I didn't care about anything else, and I just spent, just paid the minimum payment, and then I spent on the website that I had. It was called manadeprived.com, but I was paying like for banners to be made, for t-shirts to be made. I was paying writers to make content, even though we weren't making money. I was just excited about the idea of my brand being bigger and bigger without a business plan. I do totally regret that. So I went into the hole in 2020, had finally landed on some money, landed a big win that allowed me to erase my debt. And then I started to look into investing. But that's also, well, 2020 was a huge year just because, again, I'm laughing thinking about it because there was COVID as well. And that was also the year resurgence, and I've seen you had at least one video about this, was the resurgence of cryptocurrency for
Yeah.
that year. So there was so much happening all at once, and that's about when I got in. But I heard about Wealthsimple. I loved their mobile app, and they had a good referral plan where they were paying you to like $25 to join and refer. And every other crypto app was basically doing the same, like ShakePay and Newton, like get a friend, we'll give you $25. So that's basically how it happened. It just landed, to summarize, landed on a sum of money. There was just a lot of marketing online.
And I'm glad that you actually, at the time that you realized, like, yeah, you have to change that approach to how you manage your debt, especially when you had a big windfall, you actually used it smartly. And since you've been investing in the market, KYT, what would you say are some of your biggest learning? And whether around investing or whether about how you got started and all of that, what would be some of your key lessons learned that you would like to share perhaps with others?
So it's like I talked about mentioning, like budgeting is like the biggest mistake of my life, and that's why I emphasize like it's way more important to save early and to know that you should invest or not wait to invest. Like some people like it's like some posts. Not shots fired because it's hard to find posts in Blossom and to know who they are. But some guy said like he's been watching the market for a year and now he's ready. I mean, like you should have been putting whatever, even if it's $5 or $25 during that year, you should have been getting into the habit. So that, and just learning about the dangers of credit card and paying interest rate, like my dad and everything. That was like one key lesson. The second one, I think, I might not have three, but we'll just casually go through the lessons I've been. The one that I've been really big on, I think, is like not to trust sources even if you respect them. In the poker space, as I've gotten to know a lot of smart people through playing, a lot of people that are successful at poker, and risk takers, the thing about that space, and a lot of successful sports bettor, mind you, that space was really into cryptocurrency. And I think I took a lot of what they said as like maybe not truth, but I trusted in a lot of them that really believed that it was the future. When now I didn't I don't think, okay, it still might be the future. We have a lot of people, like, you know, a handful of people on Blossom that really want to be like, hey, it's the future. Don't don't badmouth Bitcoin or whatever. But it still might be. I'm open to that. I'm just saying it's not really a smart investment, etc. It's just way too high risk. And I wished I wasn't. I mean, I just basically trusted a lot of poker players because they were good at poker, and their takes on investing might not have been the best. And to continue on this point, it's also why it's sort of, if people are on Blossom or watching, what I don't love it when people are just constantly quoting Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch. I mean, these are shortcuts. A lot of their quotes are shortcuts to tell people to understand, but they're not really like, investing is more nuanced. And sometimes I feel like we're getting really close to it being sort of self-helpish. I don't know if you know what I mean. We're like, don't have a negative mindset, stuff like that. It's like, come on, investing for the most part is just stats, numbers. There's no need for these like motivational quotes. A lot of poker players that won really big tournaments, they're not necessarily considered the best players. And a lot of Magic players that have won one of the top players, a lot of pro players will be like, how did that guy win? He got so lucky to win. They're not regarded as the most skilled. So likewise, for investing, we should respect people who did really well, but still keep in mind they might have gone that, like, there's millions of other people that tried similar strategies that didn't get as famous as them, and some of them may have failed as well. And we fail to acknowledge that, and we just blanket quote. And the last pet peeve is people who end the argument with a quote. It's like, you're not here to argue and talk about the nuance of this specific argument we're having. You just want to end it. Well, Warren Buffett said this. It's like, okay, you're not interested in debating at all.